Well, hello. Oh, welcome, YouTube. This is the relationship theory. Here we take thoughts in, we break them down, we build them up, and we play them out. Forgiveness. Forgiveness. I want to take a different route with the conversation of forgiveness. And this route that I want to take with forgiveness is going to come in the form of writings. I said that I was going to write more. I wasn't going to talk so much. I believe I said this on Instagram, so you might want to go follow me on Instagram at The Relationship Theory. So, with that said, YouTube, since you might not know, I resort not only to, through my mind, to speak my mind, but also to writings to help guide the thoughts that I'm having. So on forgiveness, I have 3 things that I let boil in my mind over time. Like I wrote this about 2 weeks ago, I think. And I think this is very, very essential. I had to draw it out, and I thought I was going to draw an image. I ended up finding 3 things. So here are the 3 things. Let's jump right into it, shall we? Number 1 on forgiveness. And this is how it's read. Forgiveness works. No. Forgiveness is an emotion that works on different levels of relationships. Forgiveness is an emotion that works on different levels of relationships. And here's what that means. What it means is the way you forgive one person is not going to be the way that you forgive another person. Not every person you forgive needs to be told, I forgive you. There are certain relationships that operate on a different level of forgiveness, where you look at them and you know all is well. And it's just that simple. It's simple, really. So when you get these likewise, when you get prolonged interactions where you know you've already forgiven this person and the problem seems to persist, it's not the problem that persists. And there's the cat going off. It's not the problem that persists. It's the forgiveness that processes. Not the problem that persists, it's the forgiveness that is processing. Forgiveness is an emotion that works on different levels of relationships. I think the cat disagrees. Well, let's get the cat on in here. Okay, no, that is a joke. And as a third example, when one is forgiving themselves, you have a process to that too. And if you're not well versed or practiced on forgiveness, what occurs is forgiveness as a process. The point that I want to start, the point that those 3 examples highlight, is that forgiveness is an emotion. Forgiveness is an emotion itself. So when you're practicing forgiveness with other people, you are still getting the exercise you need to forgive yourself. It's on a different level of a relationship, however. I really didn't want to edit this. I didn't want to edit this. So I'm just gonna go right along. Number 2, I do what I do because of forgiveness and how it works for me as forgiveness is me. So that's what the third example of forgiveness working on a different level meant. Where you get the exercise you need with forgiveness, but on forgiving yourself, you get the exercise by actually practicing it. But here's how you practice it, and it's in the second point. I do what I do because of forgiveness and how it works for me as forgiveness is me. You are literally allowed to do what you like. That's what number 2 is saying. You're allowed to do what you like. And the proof of forgiveness is in that you do what you do on a daily basis. So if you're looking to compensate, if you're looking to apologize to yourself, if you're looking to offer something up or to exchange something in order to feel that forgiveness within yourself, you don't really have to do it. And the reason why is because in your ability to allow yourself to do what you like, to do what you want, to partake in something, to enjoy something, to feel something, you are already being forgiven. The past you in making new decisions is probably going to feel some way, especially if you're not in a cohesive relationship with yourself. So when you do the things you do when you're trying something new, your past self is probably angry at you. It's probably looking at you funny. It's probably not very interested in what it is that you want to do. It's probably wishing and hoping you did the same thing so that it can do what it did. But and so when you're forgiving yourself, it's in the fact that you permit yourself to be yourself. It's how you experience how forgiveness works for other people by being yourself. Because it isn't as liberating if you have to concern yourself with how other people get through their own battle, their own difficulty, their own process. It's not enough. It will never be enough unless you observe it, unless you witness it, unless you experience it for yourself. How do you experience it for yourself? I do what I do because of forgiveness and how it works for me, as forgiveness is me. Number 3, there are people who aren't ready to receive forgiveness from me. Number 3 points to the event where you are most certainly at a level of forgiveness within yourself that is established and stable. And to anyone else, if it ever concerns you, a problem is persisting. However, if you know within yourself, oh, this is most certainly what it is for me, and you're confident in that, and it's true for you, then it is truly the inability for someone to forgive themselves to come to this truth within themselves. That's what you're really experiencing. It is just another level of forgiveness and how you experience it. Although at this level you might want to understand that it's because you are as accomplished in the emotion of forgiveness that you are seeing certain things. There are certain ways that you experience life through forgiveness because you haven't forgiven, and then there are certain things you experience in life because you have forgiven, and that you are well practiced in the emotion that is forgiveness. For forgiveness is an emotion. And so when you look through the world with the lens of forgiveness, you'll find a world, various worlds, in different ways, in the ways that you interact with life itself, that shows you where that level is at. If you took the time to observe it, and you only need a little bit of time, you don't need the whole day, you don't even need an hour. Sometimes all you really just need to do is stop and see how much you have offered yourself, others, and how the relationship resembles that proof. There are people who aren't ready to receive forgiveness from me. That is the third point. And that is when you know that you are at an excellent level of forgiveness within yourself. By the way, these 3 points, not by the way, but as we move forward through this conversation, when you are well practiced in forgiveness, you allow yourself to feel other feelings that if you weren't practiced, that you otherwise would not have felt through forgiveness, through forgiving and forgiveness. You see certain things that you would not have seen if you were not as practiced. You see certain things that you would not have seen if you hadn't forgiven, if you had not forgave. You get to experience certain emotions within yourself that you would not have experienced if you had not forgave. And to many people, again, if their opinions were valid, you might see that perhaps there is still a relationship that needs reconciliation or working or processing. And indeed, it does. But it is not at the hands of the one who has the emotion, who bears the emotion of forgiveness within themselves. Experiencing forgiveness is a two-way exchange. It's an emotion, much like any other emotion. In fact, that's the height of this conversation today. And it goes right back to the first point. Forgiveness is an emotion that works on different levels of relationships. once you experience a level of forgiveness in relationships that satisfies you, you won't want to choose any lower than that level. And you ought to. You ought to. You ought to want to. Because forgiveness feels good. And when you know forgiveness feels good, you allow other emotions to feel good. So remember, emotions in general are yours. Forgiveness as an emotion is yours. So choose the level of experience you want to have with your emotions, and leave anybody else out of that experience that isn't aligned with where you want to be with that experience. And all it really takes is time. That's this episode of The Relationship Theory. I'll talk to you later.